Hey guys, I'm Deniz Koyu, and today I want to walk you through a patch that I've created for the BX Oberhausen. So first of all, let me play you this sound. Yeah, so it's kind of a rave type of lead sound that works well for EDM, for example. And what I wanted to do here is create a patch that is not the typical type of Oberheim sound, because you can already find this a lot in the presets that exist. But I wanted to create something a little bit different and maybe more modern sounding, and something that can be used in a, well, modern dance track. All right, let's get started. So I just pulled up the init patch for the Oberhausen. So when you do this, all you get is a simple saw sound, one oscillator. And now to create this type of rave lead sound, what I want is, I want to start with a pulse width modulation type of sound. How you create this is over here in the filter section, you have the two oscillators, and I'm going to start with oscillator 1 on pulse 100%. And now you're going to take a look at this section here. So this is our oscillator 1, VCO1, and here you have the modulation, and we want to modulate the pulse width for the sound. So how you do this is turn this all the way up to 100% for now, and also play around with the pulse width, initial pulse width of the oscillator. So what we get then is, now when we are modulating the pulse width, what's really happening is you're kind of like automating this knob here. So you're creating this type of effect. That's pulse width modulation. And as you can already hear, this creates that type of rave lead sound. So in order to modulate this, we're going to be using LFO1. And here you set the rate of the LFO, and we want this to be pretty fast. Kind of around here. And now we want to use the spread knob here to make this oscillator wide, but not too wide, so it doesn't go out of hand. So let's try it around 20%. Somewhere around here is good. Next thing, I actually want to take it one octave down. So just go in here and set the frequency to -12. Same for oscillator 2. And oscillator 2 is set to saw, and we're keeping it right there. We're not using the spread knob on that oscillator. Next thing, we're turning on the unison and play around with that a bit, either 8 or 16 voices. "16 sounds great to me. All right, so now we have the basic patch going, and now in order to make it sound a little bit more dirty and rough, I'm going to go into the effects section, and I'm going to start processing it with the distortion unit. And here maybe one general advice I want to give you guys is, it's always good to have a good understanding about how the structure of the synth works and have a good knowledge about the signal flow and stuff like this in general, but it's also really important to just experiment with things and be playful and maybe sometimes not overthink too much. So you can sometimes create happy accidents as well while you're really just playing around with the knobs and stuff. So it's never wrong to do that as well. So let's dive into it and go into the distortion unit. And I'm going to be playing around with the parameters and then playing the sound at the same time, so you're hearing what I'm doing. So right there, it's getting really beefy and aggressive, which I like. And also one thing to mention, I think you heard it, the treble knob sounds really great on this, I think. So I like that a lot. And also the shape here, the shape knob is great to use in order to create a different flavor. One thing I forgot is I want to also engage the portamento for this type of sound. So I'm going to enable the legato and then pump up the portamento to somewhere around 300 milliseconds. There we go. So I like that. And the second step I would take is the airband EQ, the Mach airband EQ, which sounds lovely as well. So I'm going to turn that on and set it to a frequency of maybe 10 or 5. Gotta be careful with it though, because you can overdo it quickly as well, and then it starts to distort. We're already getting some clipping and distortion, so I'm going to turn down the level here in the amp. That sounds good, I think. To end off the sound, I'm going to be using the reverb unit as well. So let's take it here. And again, I'm going to be just playing around with the values parameters a bit and try to shape the sound the way I want it. Here again, I think the damping sounds really nice in this reverb, and you can really shape it nicely with it. Yep, that's cool. For a final step, what I would do for the processing of this sound is I would take an EQ and make sure that we are cutting the low end in the stereo part of this sound, because we've used the unison and the spread knob here on oscillator 1, but at the same time we also have quite a lot of bass information in this sound. So what I would do is I would take an EQ, and which one that's actually really great for it is the digital V3. And then all I would do is take the low cut here in the stereo section and set it to somewhere around 150 to 200 hertz. All right, so now listening to the sound one more time, one last thing I would do is check the distortion again and just make sure that it's exactly at the right level. So what we want is to distort the sound but not create that clipping type of character. So, you know, just want to make sure that it's at the right point. So I'm gonna check here. Yep, that sounds right to me. So I think this should be pretty close to the original sound. But of course, this should just give you a general insight into how I create a patch from scratch in the Oberhausen. You can still tweak the details and fine-tune the sound, but yeah, this should just give you a general idea. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and make sure to check out my preset pack for the Oberhausen.